Are we live? I think we're live, people! Hey, everybody, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 here, and welcome to another open chat. So tonight, before I start inviting people, tonight's main topic will be the origins of the very first Linux distros, Softlanding Linux systems, Slackware, and Debian. Before we get started, like always, people, if you want to see more live streams just like this, then smash that like button and support my channel. I appreciate it. Also, before I look at the comments here, I just want to make a few announcements beforehand. April 4th will be an Edo Pro dual night. But that one will not be an open chat. It'll just be me alone. April the 8th will be another Edo Pro dual night, and the one on the 8th will be an open chat. And then on April 15th will be a live dueling book live stream event. I will be making a video about that event, about the information about that event in the immediate coming days. So keep a lookout for that. But anywho, that's pretty much it for the announcements, and that's pretty much it for the announcements. Sorry for my stuttering. Let's start inviting some people. And I can already see we got a Benny Boy up in here, so let me get to you first. So, let's see here. Get the Benny Boy an invite. Okay. Reply. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, Benny Boy, your invite's been sent. You just come in here when you're ready. Okay. And just letting everybody know, I will be giving it 5 minutes, and then we'll get to the main topic. Hold on a minute. Hey, man.
Hey, Ricky.
Oh,
boy. Well, I had an interesting encounter this morning.
Huh.
Well, I spoke to this doctor named Debbie, aka Davika,
Uh-huh.
and um, hang on. Well, she's also autistic.
Interesting.
Yes, and she's the one who's prescribing my meds now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and she's also going to help me with certain life goals, etc.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you said you have Slackware and Debian lined up as our Linux topic tonight.
Well, it's not just Debian and Slackware. We're also discussing the very one of the very first Linux distros, and that is Softlanding Linux systems.
Never heard of that.
Well, you're going to get well acquainted with it in just a few minutes.
All right. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just finishing up watching a Bon Jovi concert here that's premiered. So,
Uh, all right. All right, people. In about 2 minutes, we're gonna get this thing started.
yep. Captain Crunch. Oh. Diamond on a stream. What the frick?
What's wrong, Ben?
Nothing. Just looking at Let me read something. Just 2 minutes. Huh. This connecting less than about frames.
What was that, Ben?
It was somebody in the Bon Jovi video I'm watching.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm listening to it on my phone, which has a really loud speaker.
Uh, Okay, people, the 2 minutes have officially expired. It's time to get on to the main topic.
Yeah.
I am going to share my screen and we are going to get started.
Mean.
So let's see here. Screen sharing, yes. Yeah, why not? The entire screen because we're going to need it. All right, so let me just go here and all right, here is the information for Softlanding Linux systems. So here's what it says. It was one of the first Linux distributions. The first release was by Peter McDonald in August 1992. Their slogan at the time was "Gentle Touchdowns for DOS Bailouts." Softlanding Linux system was the first release to offer a comprehensive Linux distribution containing more than the Linux kernel, GNU, and other basic utilities, including the implementation of the X Windows system. It also says right here that Softlanding Linux system was the most popular Linux distribution at the time. But it was considered to be rather buggy by its users. It was soon superseded by Slackware, which started as a cleanup of SLS by Patrick Volkerding and Yggdrasil Linux slash GNU.
Yggdrasil, actually, Ricky.
What?
Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil. Okay, thank you for correcting.
Sorry.
Yggdrasil Linux slash GNU slash X, amongst others. Similarly, Ian Murdoch's frustration with SLS led him to create the Debian project.
Yes.
So now that's pretty much SLS in a nutshell. Here is basically a little snippet of what it looked like. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what Softlanding Linux systems look like. Back in 1992, it pretty much has most of your directories like any distro would, but back then, this was literally bare bones Linux as it was, because you only had very few things with this. So this is basically Softlanding Linux systems in a nutshell. So now we're going to move on to the second one, which is Slackware. Now, just letting you all know, I covered Slackware, people, in one of my latest episodes of Linux History Shorties. But for those who are still unaware about the history of Slackware, I will go for it just a little bit, but not the whole thing. So it says here, Slackware is a Linux distribution created by Patrick Volkerding in 1993, originally based on Softlanding Linux system. Slackware has been the basis for many other Linux distributions, most notably the first versions of SUSE Linux distributions, and is the oldest distribution that is still maintained. Slackware aims for design, stability, and simplicity, and to be the most Unix-like Linux distribution. It makes as few modifications as possible to software packages from upstream and tries not to anticipate use cases or preclude user decisions. In contrast to most modern Linux distributions, Slackware provides no graphical installation procedure and no automatic dependency resolution of software packages. It uses plain text files and only a small set of shell scripts for configuration and administration. Without further modification, it boots into a command line interface environment. Because of its many conservative and simplistic features, Slackware is often considered to be the most suitable for advanced and technically inclined Linux users. So that's it. So that's Slackware in a nutshell. So we're just going to go back to Softlanding Linux systems and go right over here to our final distro, Debian.
Debian.
So Debian, also known as Debian GNU/Linux, is a Linux distribution composed of free and open source software developed by the community-supported Debian project, which was established by Ion Murdoch on August 16, 1993. The first version of Debian, version 0.01, was released on September 15, 1993, and its first stable version, 1.1, was released on June 17, 1996. The Debian stable branch is the most popular edition for personal computers and servers. Debian is also the basis for many other distributions, most notably Ubuntu. Debian, Debian is one of the oldest operating systems based on the Linux kernel. The project is coordinated over the internet by a team of volunteers, guided by the Debian project leader, and free foundational documents. The Debian Social Contract, the Debian Constitution, and the Debian Free Software Guidelines. New distributions are updated continually, and the next candidate is released after a time-based freeze. Since its founding, Debian has been developed openly and distributed freely according to the principles of the GNU project. Because of this, the Free Software Foundation sponsored the project from 1994 to 1995. When the sponsorship ended, the Debian project formed the non-profit organization Software in the public interest to continue financially supporting development. And that right there is Debian in a nutshell. And right over here, you can see a picture of Debian itself with the GNOME desktop environment. So that's Debian. And basically, with that in a nutshell, that is basically the very first distros that started everything. So I'm going to take it to the open chat. We're going to make this an open forum, and we're going to pretty much discuss these free distros with everybody. So that concludes the main topic for this evening. We are now in an open chat, open forum mode. So what are your thoughts on these distros, Ben?
Well, I personally don't really know that much about the first one, but I will say Slackware. As many times as we've gone through it, it's one of the few distros that I'm personally not that skilled with, but always willing to take a look at it. And, I mean, I do know some things about it, but, I know how to set it up, but live in it, yeah, not so much. Now, Debian, that one's like, super easy for me to get set up and play with, and live in for a while. However, there's one fat downside to that distro, though, Ricky.
What would that be?
Well, it's so stable that, it's still running kernel 5.10 on it. And however, because of that, this laptop has a problem with the trackpad not working in that regard. So I always have to install the backported kernel of kernel 6.x or whatever they're up to now. So I always have to install the later version of the kernel through backports in order for that piece of hardware to work.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing about Debian is, that's one thing about all three of these distros, given the history we just went over. I mean, the Linux kernel, as Spectre once said, in Linux does what Win don't. The Linux kernel evolves at a rapid rate New features are being added. Old features are being deprecated. I mean, just recently, the kernel is now at a point to where it can almost fully support M1 and M2 Max now.
Yeah.
But I will say though, when it comes to most hardware, I would say that when it comes to most hardware, I wish the kernel would work with a whole bunch more hardware. But I know, I mean, this is what we have for now until the next version comes out, or whenever the 7.0 kernel comes out within a good few months. But I will say Debian and Slackware and so have been here since the very beginning. As for Softlanding Linux system, I mean, even though I only seen a picture of it just a few seconds ago, I will say for the most part, it looks like it was a good distro for back then. Hence, why I am announcing right here in this live stream, May 1st, 2023 at 5 p.m., I will be doing a live install of Softlanding Linux system. So that's what so that will be happening very, very soon.
Awesome, Ricky. Well, I'll be definitely sure to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the first distro to get this whole thing started, so it's only right that I give it a fair review. But also, I think it's also only right that we talk about its history and what it meant for the other distros going forward. Not just Slackware, not just Debian, but this also involves Ubuntu, SUSE Linux, OpenSUSE, Arch Linux, even Gentoo is involved in this. All distros can trace their origins all the way back to Softlanding Linux system.
Dang.
So that's so yeah. I mean, May 1st, 2023, 5 p.m. I'll be live installing this, seeing what it had to offer back in those days. But also don't forget, people, and I'll remind you all about this announcement too. Coming up in early April. April 2nd, 2023, 5 p.m. will be the live installation of Arch Linux UEFI OpenBox.
Dang.
So I will be showing you all.
That's in 2 days, right, Ricky?
Yeah, that's in 2 days.
Oh, I will be there for that, my friend. Don't you worry.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the OpenBox window manager is by far the easiest window manager to set up, to configure. Because it's basically like one of those window managers to where once it's set up, you pretty much forget it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Ben, you're lagging a little bit.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna restart the call on my end. Hold on a second.
All right, go ahead. Okay, people. Ben's gonna restart his computer, and he'll come right back. For those people who didn't get to see the main topic just a few minutes ago, once this live stream is over, a replay will be up on my channel. So for those who missed the main topic and for those who couldn't be here, you can watch the replay, and if you have any thoughts or opinions, feel free to put them in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys think about the main topic. With that being said, for the rest of this open chat, we'll just pretty much talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I will say, hold on just a minute. There's Ben.
Do I sound better now?
A lot better. A lot better.
Yeah, what I did was I changed my webcam to 720p on the laptop, so I think that change might have lagged it out. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But anyway, as I was saying, when it comes to these free distros, if it wasn't for these free distros specifically, we would not be in the position we are now, to where we have so many distros to test and to see how they work.
But yeah, like we were saying about OpenBox, though, that is, even I can configure that, because what I usually do is I put a plank at the bottom of the window, and then I put the XFCE panel at the top, and then configure those how I want it, and that's it. I mean, and then I add PyCom for compositor, just, and my network applet, my etc. Excuse me, the volume icon, and then just keep it very basic. I don't really add much more than that to it. And it's, OpenBox, unlike some of the other window manager environments out there, it's so damn easy to configure the thing. I mean, heck, I could even say the same for freaking Fluxbox. They're very similar.
I mean, Fluxbox is very similar. It's just with Fluxbox, you actually get a little panel on the bottom with workspace stuff to work with. But the thing with OpenBox, though, is that you need a panel, and Tint 2 is the best one in my opinion, because it just works.
Yeah. It works so well, but the problem is I'm just so used to the freaking XFCE panel that's what I usually use.
Yeah, I can understand that. XFCE panel is good. LX panel is good, even though that's deprecated now, but people still use it.
LXD is long gone, but hey, there's still distros like LFS and Gentoo, and I think even Arch still supports it at some point.
I mean, Arch does still support the LXDE environment. I mean, a lot of distributions still use it. I mean, LXDE, I don't think it's going to go away completely anytime soon. Yes, a lot of distros stop supporting it, but you also have other Arch-based distros like Endeavor OS that still support it.
Yeah, it's just, I've tried LXD in the past, and it's a good desktop, but it's it's not as feature rich in my opinion as something like KDE or XFCE or something like that. I mean, even, I hate to say this, but even GNOME 4X is something I would consider over something like LXQT or LXD. I hate to say.
I can understand. I mean, LXD is not going to be for everybody. I mean, LXD is for those niche people who grew up liking, the old Windows 2000, Windows 98 setup. That's what LXDE gives you right there. It gives you that familiar setup.
Right. To me, it looks something like, I don't know, Windows XP, Windows 2000, something like that.
Basically.
And that kind of desktop is, I'm sorry to say, old.
I mean, it is old. But here's the thing about LXDE, though. It
in
without LXDE, we know we wouldn't have LXQT, which LXQT is LXDE, but built with the QT framework.
right, which also drives KD.
Well, it drives some parts of it, but not the whole thing completely. Plasma is a beast of its own.
Right, and installing Plasma. Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, there is an easy way to get around it when it comes to Arch users. I mean, you can pretty much install the minimal theme version of it and just get the bare bones Plasma setup, which is what I recommend if you're an Arch user. Just go for the minimal Plasma setup, and basically this way you won't have all these background processes and all this overloaded stuff. It'll be minimal and you can just use it like that.
Right. Oh,
But I will also say when it comes to Slackware though, I mean, even though I ran through the Slackware installation one time with Surge, I will say this time around. And by the way, people, I will be doing a new live installation of Slackware current since 15 is out. But that will be a many months down the road, so keep a lookout for that. But the thing is, this time and it won't be just me installing the distro. Benny Boy over here is gonna be installing it too, because I'm gonna teach him how to install it.
you're crazy, Ricky. You know how many times we've done that, and it has backfired on my ass.
Well, the thing is with how I do it now, it has never backfired on me one time.
All right. Well, I will gladly accept your challenge for this one.
hmm Basically, it's very simple. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
difficult. I mean, the thing about Slackware installation, it's on the same level as an Arch installation. It's the same exact level of difficulty. It's just unlike Arch, you don't have a wiki to go by when you're running Slackware. Luckily, I have past instructions from Surge thanks to my 2018 or 2019 Slackware live installation live stream that I did all the way back then. So I took that information and I turned it into a modernized, more recent tutorial for myself since Slackware 15 changed a few things when it comes to the Incurses installer. But other than that, the XFC desktop on it looks exactly the same like it did before. It's just the one thing that's going to be different with this installation is there's going to be a whole bunch of new applications added to it now. Applications that weren't present in Slackware Current previously and Slackware 14. But uh,
Oh,
but
good.
But I will say there's going to be a whole bunch of audio editors, video editors, browsers. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff for you to
There's going
try.
to be a slew of applications.
And the way then and I thought about this. The way
Yeah.
that Ben here is going to install a package in this live tutorial, it's going to be pretty much
Is
the old fashioned way through packages.org, pulling down that binary and doing the good old install PKG.
okay, yeah. And yeah, because I tell you, folks, I am so used to things like PAMAC and things like that from Arch that I've been so, I guess, spoiled by graphical package managers and things, and also things like Arch auto handling dependencies that, I've sort of lost my way with, using things like Slackware and LFS, where you have to install things one by one by one.
Well, the thing with Slackware is that there is no package manager. You have to do the whole thing yourself. And
Just like I want to teach you how to do LFS with, is what I'm getting at.
exactly.
Right. So we're both in sort of that rut where we're spoiled by graphical package managers and things like that, is what you're getting at.
Basically. But I will talk about Debian for just a minute now. My first experience using Debian, using a variant of Debian, was when I got into Linux back in 2018 through Peppermint Linux. Now,
Hmm.
Peppermint Linux back then, from what I remember before it switched to the Debian base we know now, it used to be Ubuntu based at first. But Ubuntu, what most people don't know is that Ubuntu was born out of Debian. So you can pretty much say that Ubuntu and Debian are pretty much cousins, essentially. So basically, I got in to Linux for the first time using Peppermint Linux at first, which was my experience with Ubuntu/Debian distributions. Peppermint is still my favorite way to go when it comes to overall performance, speed, stability, and installing packages. I recommend new users to try Peppermint as a first stepping stone before you get to the more advanced distributions like OpenSUSE, Fedora, and Arch, etc.
Yeah. I would agree with that because if you start with Ubuntu or Debian, you're going to have something based along those lines. You're going to be definitely in a more noob friendly environment.
Exactly. And plus, the thing about Ubuntu/Debian distributions is putting snaps and Flatpaks and all this stuff aside. Ubuntu and Debian, they just work for new users because take Ubuntu Mate for example, the Total West today's favorite distro. It just works because
Right.
is a descendant of GNOME 2, and it carries what GNOME 2 used in the past and brings it to a modern age. And that's why Mate is my second favorite because its interface is really nice. If you want to give it a Windows look, you can switch it to that. If you want to give it a Mac look, you can switch it to that. You can change the look to however you want. And plus, it's got a brilliant package manager. It's got a brilliant software manager with the packet with the software boutique, and it's got really nice theming. I mean, that's one of those are many reasons why. By besides Peppermint, Mate is my second favorite. Now, right after I got a lot of experience with Peppermint people,
Yeah.
this guy right over here, he helped me through my very first Arch install. And here's a little fun. And here's a little funny. And Ben may remember this from back in 2018. The very first time I ever installed Arch Linux, people, I blew the
Yeah.
system up.
Oh
I
God.
I literally blew the whole thing up, and I had to start over again.
That's happened to us more times than we can count, Ricky.
Well, the thing is, it's happened to everybody because when it comes to Arch, even though it's really good, your chances of the Linux kernel going right down under is pretty much
Yeah.
approximately 95%.
Right. Well, all you have to do nowadays is to root into it through a live USB. You can easily fix that.
Well, I mean, the easiest way, I mean, say you have a kernel panic or something like that, the easiest way to fix the kernel is just to reinstall the thing.
Right. Just reinstall the kernel. You're back and up and running.
Now say your hardware is much older than I
Mhm.
say like say your hardware is like 10 years old, 20 years old. In my opinion, if your hardware is old, you don't go for the more recent Linux kernel. You go for the LTS kernel because the LTS kernel is going to be super duper stable for those who have older hardware. Like say you have a machine, from 2010, or say you have a machine from 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. The LTS will support those perfectly.
Yes, it will. And yeah, I mean, although I would say if you're building your own Linux system by chance, which I know most users aren't, but if there are the occasional user who is, like me, for example, it is darn near impossible by default to include the Linux LTS kernel in your system unless you add it to something like Calamarin's.
Yes, yes, and speaking of Calamaris, I mean, the installer used to be so bricky and so unstable, but look at it now. The team behind the installer has done such a phenomenal job with it. I mean, Calamaris is so much better now than what it was going back 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, here's the thing, folks. If you were to go back 5 years ago and try Calamaris, I mean, it would work at
You
times,
would have wanted to rip your darn hair out.
but then it wouldn't work at times because back then it was a very unstable installer and it just wouldn't work well at times. That's why
Yeah.
back then um, other distributions had different ways to install the distro. Like, say, for example, Ubuntu and Debian, they both have their own unique installer. Ubuntu has Ubiquity still, and Debian has their own installer that they've been using for many, 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 many years. I mean, if I'm correct, I believe the current installer that they're using, I think the first time we ever saw that installer was, I think, maybe Debian 6, though I could be wrong.
I think it was Debian 6, probably, yeah.
I think it was. I think it was. But I
Well,
will.
no. Calamaris we saw as far back as Debian 9 or 10, I believe.
Okay,
Because
that.
In Debian 6 and up to 8 or 9 probably, they were still using the vanilla Debian installer. Oh.
Which I believe they still use the vanilla installer that this very made for some purposes. I mean, the vanilla installer is really stable. It's really nice.
And
But
it's
again,
really not that hard either.
no, it really isn't. And also with Calamaris starting to get more popular now, maybe at some point, maybe Debian 12, Debian 13, they may switch to Calamaris permanently. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
We'll have to see, yeah. Although there's one distro that I still say will probably never. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think Gentoo, being how it's normally done, will have that as an option.
No, I don't think Gen 2 will ever go back to having an automatic installer. I mean, it used to have one over a decade ago, but then they
In
decided
2008 and 2007, yes.
exactly.
But I mean, that gave you the GNOME 2 desktop and the fairly very basic installation. But no, then they got rid of that and went back to the drawing board and made it all TUI from that.
Now I will say GNOME 3 to me has gotten a lot better. It's improving
Especially with
a
the
little
GNOME 4 series now.
well. We're at GNOME 40. We're at GNOME 44 now. But the
Yeah.
but the environment is getting better.
I will say that you're right, Ricky. It has gotten a heap better.
Hmm.
But I mean, the stock layout, it looks too much, in my opinion, like a Mac.
I mean, yes, that's what it looks like, but maybe the GNOME team, maybe that was their objective because, yes, yes, a Windows user can transition to GNOME with basically some knowledge, some know-how, and basically learning how the environment works. But I think the real audience for GNOME is the Mac user because if you look at GNOME very carefully, it looks like something that Mac OS would have had a long time ago.
I think that, you know, it looks kind of like an old school Mac. You're right, and it looks, unless you put like the arc menu and all those extensions on top of it,
Hmm.
it's just too plain in my opinion. It's too confusing, if you ask me.
Yeah, but I will say another thing about Debian though. I think historically, what has brought Debian to this point, and it being one of the most beloved distros of all time, is
Yeah.
its ability of simplicity and customization. Because if you look at Debian, you can say that you can customize Debian to whatever you want. If you want to go no, if you want to go GNOME, you can go GNOME. If you want to go XFCE, you can do that. If you want to go Plasma, you can do that. But also the one good thing about Debian that still keeps people going back to it is the stableness of Debian because Debian is stable like a book.
I well, actually, I think of not just a book, but a rock.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's more stable now than when it
And it
first
has been in
released over
years.
20 plus years ago.
I will agree with you there. Debian has one of the most stable Linux spaces I've seen in my life.
Oh yeah,
And our
oh
buddy
yeah.
Matthew Moore, I would say he would agree with us on that
Hmm. Hmm.
because he runs Debian, and I applaud him for how long he stayed on that.
Oh yeah.
But
Just
regardless,
yeah. Just
you know,
yeah, hold on. Just letting everybody know, in about 12 minutes we'll be wrapping this thing up. I appreciate everybody for coming. For those who couldn't attend the live stream, the replay will be available after the stream is over. Be sure to keep a lookout for the April 2nd UEFI Arch Linux OpenBox install, as well as
yeah,
other live streams coming in the near future. But like I always say, if you want to see more live streams and everything else, just smash that like button and support my channel. I appreciate that. I appreciate every single person who has watched my content for many years now. Thank you so much. And all I gotta say is, yeah, it's gonna be pretty much a good several months. Arch UEFI is gonna be first. Then the one after that will be Pop OS. And then right after, I have to look at my little list because I made a list of all of them. So, and just so you know, all of these are not in order. But eventually, I don't know when, I don't know where. It might end up being at the end of the year or late this year, but eventually, round number 10 with Gentoo is coming.
you and I will work that out at some point, Ricky.
And just letting you know, people, unlike the last live stream, it will not go for so many days because here's the thing. even though Serge gave us really good instructions, and by the way, Serge, if you ever see this, thank you so much for helping us out back then. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
thank you. And
I will also
he even
say,
showed us things that I wasn't aware of.
oh yeah, but unlike the last live stream, folks, me and Ben are going to come up with a plan to super fast make that kernel. We are.
Well, what we're going to use, Ricky, is the kernel bin this time.
Oh yeah, the binary, the
And
binary.
also, yes, and we're not going to overload your make.conf with a crap ton of use flags this time.
Yeah, because that was our mistake the first time. Because the
Yeah.
make.conf is only supposed to have very little use flags. It's not supposed to have so many in there.
Because everything that you want to add, we can put in package.use later on.
Exactly. So anything I want to add later on, it'll go to package.use. But the most critical stuff will go into make.conf though.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not going to add X or anything like that in the make.conf until we get the system booted.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It depends if I want to go with an environment or not. I may just do a
I would recommend it just for everyday use, just my opinion.
Well, true. And just
and
letting you know.
Also, if you want a minimal as heck system, we can go with your traditional open box, and that'll probably take the least amount of time to get set up.
True. And also, just letting you know, people, like all live installations, it will be done right through good old VirtualBox because, I mean, VirtualBox to me, I trust the most because I know it works, I know it's stable, and it's never failed me one time.
Right. And like my buddy Meshi always says, VirtualBox and Gen 2, pain in the ass. But, I'm not opposed to doing it. I just have to get all the notes in my head and type them down and, just so I don't forget what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah. But anyway, people, just to reiterate, if you missed the main topic for this open chat, you can just go right back to the to the beginning of the live stream, and it will be there. Also, just letting you all know, April 4th is an Edo Pro Duel Night. I did say that it would not be an open chat, but I'm actually changing my mind. It will be an open chat because I know that I know a few friends of mine that are Yu-Gi-Oh players are going to want to hang out, play some games, and all that. So I'm correcting my last statement right now. It will be an open chat for the April 4th Edo Pro Duel Night, as well as the April 8th Edo Pro Duel Night. That one will be an open chat too. April 15th, 2023 will be a live dueling book event where I will unveil the next version of the Seal of Orichalcos challenge deck. I've been pretty much very busy over the past couple months. I haven't had time to fine tune any changes to the cards and everything like that. I'm going to start the process of working on that very soon. And once all the cards or once all the new versions are ported to Dueling Book, you guys will see the low power mode, the high power mode, and the dreaded nightmare mode make their return.
Yeah. Now, Ricky, what are the requirements to participate in there?
Pardon?
What are your requirements to participate in said event?
Basically the Dueling Book live event is also, and I didn't mention this before, but I'll mention it right now. It will be a Yu-Gi-Oh based open chat because this is going to be Yu-Gi-Oh content after all. So this will be an open chat event, but this will be revealing all three Orichalcos deck profiles, the low power mode, the high power mode, and the nightmare mode, all simultaneously. The only now for those who haven't seen my 2021 revision of the Nightmare mode, just to reiterate, people, it's the most broken version of my Orichalcos deck to date, and only very few people have ever managed to beat it. I think maybe one or two people minimum.
Damn.
But over time, throughout 2021 up to now, I have been doing minor modifications. But starting maybe tomorrow or the next day, I will get to work on making the true final modifications to every single card I have, and they will be ported to Dueling Book immediately. And once everything is ready, the deck profiles will be displayed. And after I go through each deck profile in this event, you will see me do a few live Orichalcos challenge based duels. Now, I'm just going to summarize right here. What is the Orichalcos challenge? It's a custom deck challenge where you have the opportunity to face me in a duel and try to defeat the Seal of Orichalcos deck. The rules are simple. Life points are both 8,000. Advanced format, but both players are allowed to use custom cards if they wish. For me, as a custom card maker and user, since the Orichalcos is a custom card deck, I have to use those as part of the challenge because it is a challenge after all.
Okay.
If the person beats me while the Seal of Orichalcos field spell is active, you get to pretty much take one person's name off of my list. Now, once that person's name is off the list, they will be able to challenge the deck again. Now, say for example, if said person is on that list, they can. Well, I'll just reiterate again, just so people can understand. If you lose while the Seal of Orichalcos is on the field, you can't challenge the deck again until basically your name is removed from the list, and your name is added when you lose. So basically, it pretty much provides some type of a boundary, if you will. If your name is on there, you can't challenge it for the time being. But if your name is not on there, say your name was removed, you can challenge the deck again. That's how it works. So, but there's no prizes or anything involved. It's basically the aesthetics of the challenge itself. So, but I will be going into more detail about the rules, about the challenge in the April 15th event. This was just basically a small summarization of what to expect. Now, as for the two Edo Pro Dual Night open chats that are going to be happening on the 4th and the 8th, it's basically anything goes Edo Pro. I don't know what's going to happen. If you all seen the last one, me, Ben, and my buddy Austin, we basically went to crazy town, if you will, with a whole bunch of decks that we made, including this guy right here tried to attempt to run Exodia, but it didn't get off the ground correctly.
Right, and we are going to correct that.
Oh, we're going to correct Exodia. Trust me, there's a way to do it. We just got to figure out the right build for it, and we will.
And we'll do that before said stream.
Exactly. Maybe the day before the stream, actually.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. But anyway, people, there's about a minute and a half before we wrap this stream up. Once again, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you missed the replay, just go back to the beginning. The replay and the discussion will play on from there. And as for normal live streams, keep a lookout for the April 2nd UEFI Arch install. As for Pop OS, that stream will be scheduled for May 19th, 2023, my birthday at 5 p.m. So for my birthday, we're installing Pop OS on live stream.
And speaking of birthdays, Ricky, I had an idea.
What's that?
On my birthday, which is July 16th, how about we schedule that for Gen 2?
No,
Does
honestly,
that work for you?
that's not a bad idea. I say we'll do that. So you
All right.
said July? Did you say June or July?
July 16th.
July. Okay, so that'll be the July live install. So I'll
All
schedule
right.
that in. For the June install. Now this is the one I'm now before I go, the June install is what I was going to reveal in this stream because I thought about this. I didn't know where we were going before, but now I do.
What?
For for the June in live
What?
install, I have selected a live install of OpenSUSE.
Very daring, Ricky. Very daring.
OpenSUSE with KDE Plasma.
Well, with KD,
So that'll be for June. For May it'll be Pop OS. For July it'll be Gentoo, and for April it'll be good old Arch Linux. So you have several. So you have several live streams, people, to keep a lookout for. I will be making a YouTube update on my channel this Tuesday, outlining more details of all the streams and everything. So keep a lookout for that. But until then, this is it. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master 88 saying goodbye. See you later. Have a wonderful evening and enjoy the replay of this stream from the very beginning, people. Have a good night, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.